Welcome to My Spoonie Sisters, featuring stories from special guests dedicated to empowering those with chronic illness. Our goal? To connect people and provide the support and tools they need to live a better life. For those with chronic illness, our energy levels just fade faster. We must be more purposeful with the spoons allotted to us. So grab your coffee or tea, sister, and tune in as My Spoonie Sisters share stories of living with chronic illness. Hi, my Spoonie Sisters. I am Gracefully Jen, and I am so excited to bring you my awesome new friend that we have so much in common. Welcome to the show. This is Sol.
Hi, guys. Hi, my Spoonie Sisters. Nice to be here with you, Jen. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, of course. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Yeah, it's a nice day. So gonna go on a walk after this during my lunch break at home. So it's a good day.
Well, and for those out there that aren't familiar with you, where are you located?
So I live in Massachusetts. I am about 30 minutes south of the city from Boston, but I grew up and was raised in Boston in the city.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I am 28 years old. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter named Alina. She is the light of our lives. Me and her father have been together. He's pretty much my high school sweetheart. We've been together for like 10 years. I was 18. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I have a big family. I'm Hispanic. My background is Hispanic. My family is from Dominican Republic. So we're big on gatherings. Like, we'll get together Saturday or Sunday, typically Sundays, like eat, like we always like get together in one of our like aunt's house. Like that's like, we're big on family. That's an important part of my life to them. Like, and I work in finance. I've been doing that since 2015. And I'm currently pursuing my master's as well. So I have a lot on my plate right now. Yeah, definitely. I know. But I like to keep busy. I'm the type of person, as if my 2.5-year-old doesn't keep me busy already, but I always like add more to that. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. And on my free time, yeah, like I said, spend time with my friends. I am now have been doing it for about a month and a half with the good weather, going on like a walk, at least for like 30 minutes to an hour every day. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. Pretty simple, boring, low key, typical, that's it about me.
So what is your diagnosis story, or what is your diagnosis?
So this all started, in my mind, I was healthy, no issues, but I'll go back to like, obviously now looking back a few years ago, I'm like, this was probably what this was. So like, I would say a month after, or even not even a month, like 3 weeks after I turned 28, everything started in September. I started waking up with bad neck pain, like super bad. Like it would take me an hour to actually be able to move my neck. And I was just like, I would complain to my mom about it. I'm like, this is not typical, like, oh, I slept wrong type of pain. Like when that happens, it should go away in like 2 days. If that's the case, it would just persist. And it was to the point where I was also feeling like a little bit tingliness in my legs and my arms, which made me a little bit more concerned. So I wasn't getting better. I went to the ER. I'm that type of person. If I feel that's why I pay health insurance. If I feel anything, I'm going to go to the doctor and get it checked. So I went, of course, the ER did nothing. They said, it's probably maybe you strained it. You said you have a 2-year-old at that time, almost 2-year-old. So it could have been you just strained it, like with playing with her. I'm like, that's not, I'm describing additional symptoms. Like I'm feeling tingliness in my hands and like sometimes numbness, and she said, oh yeah, that's because it's on the neck. Like it could affect all these other nerves in that's exactly what she said to me. I'm like, and she's a doctor. So I'm like listening to her. I'm like, you're the professional. I'll take your advice, whatever. But what made that visit even more traumatic for me as my experience for diagnosis is she asks me, do you have a history of MS in your family? You're telling me I'm okay, but you're asking me this question that is very serious. I'm like, no, I don't have any history of MS in my family. Like that's no. And I was like, why are you asking me that? Like, I'm the type of person where I just don't leave a question. I want to know why you're asking me this. And she said, oh, your symptoms are kind of similar to that because you're feeling tingliness, like you're feeling kind of like a stiffness. I'm like, okay. So I was, and then she left it at that. She's like, but you don't have a family history. You don't meet the age requirements or like some, whatever. She said, it's nothing to worry about. So I left. But again, me and the anxious person that I am, I left freaking out, even worse than what I did when I went in, because now she has the idea of MS in my head. And I messaged my PCP right away.
Well, and let's back up here. Age requirement?
Yeah, she mentioned you're not in the age group, like in the age group of someone with MS. Yeah. Which I don't even know what's the age group, to be honest. So I literally just like was okay.
I'm sorry, but when has there become an age group for autoimmune diseases at all? Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Anyway.
No, it's fine. That's like, I obviously didn't know what questions to ask because I wasn't familiar with the topic. Like I had never researched MS. I had never, because I've never had a history of that in my family where I would feel worried about it. So of course I left there even being more anxious than when I came in, having more stress than when I came in, because now she left this idea in my head of possible MS, but didn't actually pursue it. But you mentioned it to me.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for that.
Thank you for sending me home with muscle relaxers, by the way. That's all she sent me home with, and aspirin, and putting that idea in my head. So I messaged my PCP. I told him like, hey, this is what's going on. My PCP is amazing. Like he's a big advocate for me. So whatever I'm feeling, he's the type of doctor. If that's what you're feeling, let's get you checked out. So he instantly, I didn't feel better. So I gave it some time after the ER before I emailed him. Wasn't getting better. So I was like, hey, I went to the ER. It's been X amount of weeks. He ordered an MRI of my spine, cervical spine, of my brain. Obviously, if someone with MS, he was like, let's rule that out. If you have MS, it would show on your brain, like your scans. Did not show MS. He's like, okay, you do not have MS, but you show mild arthritis in your neck. Never actually said rheumatoid arthritis, never brought it to that point. But since he's I'm sorry if I'm like going long. I just want to take you guys through the steps.
Absolutely. Do it.
So he ordered the MRI, but since it showed, since the first doctor was worried about MS, he was like, let's also have a consult with the MS specialist, just so they can rule it out by looking at your scans. Like I can give you a clinical diagnosis by looking at it, but I want someone who's specialized in it. So I go to the MS doctor. She's like, looking at your scans, you definitely do not have MS, but we do see like what my doctor said, we do see mild arthritis in your neck. But I also want to take some blood work. She's the one that suggested it, the MS doctor, because you're describing additional symptoms, because I was also feeling other body parts stiff. And I told her that, like, I was also beginning to feel my wrist was getting stiff. So I expressed that other body parts, which not all the time, but I would feel them. Like my jaw was a big one. There was 2 days where I couldn't eat because my jaw like kind of like was very, like I couldn't even open it. So she's like, what you're describing it, I just want to kind of rule out other things. So she tested me for the RF factor and the anti-CCP indicators. And once that came back, she's like, you have rheumatoid arthritis. She called me that same night when the results came in. It was like 8 p.m. I was in the living room with my daughter. She's like, I just want you to know, like, this is not bad. Like you can live a normal life. Like you can do, because when I was worried about MS, that's obviously the worst comes to your head. Like, oh, am I going to be like in a wheelchair? Like I want to be able to play with my daughter. She's like, you're going to be able to do all the things you want with your daughter. Like there's just certain things you might need to change. So that's my diagnosis. I went through many doctors to get a rheumatoid arthritis diagnosis. And I just feel like I listened to my body. I didn't let anyone tell me, yeah, you slept wrong, or like, it's okay. Like I'm very grateful for the PCP that I have, that he listened to me and he took those extras because I start thinking, what if I had another doctor that wasn't super interested or was just like, yeah, you just slept wrong. I would still be undiagnosed to this day and not have the medication that I'm taking to help me. I would still be in pain. No one would be taking me seriously. So I'm very grateful. I got my official diagnosis all this started in September, sometime in December, or November. It took like 3 months between tests and meeting everyone to get that diagnosis. And then I also suffered, just to add to that. That's why Jen and I have this in common. I also suffer from psoriasis. So that actually started for me in April of 2020. I just started getting like a little bit of cuts in my hands. They would tell me cover it up with like Vaseline and a Band-Aid and it would close up, but it would always come back again. But the last year, it's just worse. It's cuts on my hands. It's obviously scaliness on my palms, my elbows. So it's affected my daily life with my hands, especially because taking a bath, giving my daughter a bath, it's like open cut, so it burns. I use gloves for everything. So that's my rheumatoid arthritis is under control right now, thankfully, but I feel like my psoriasis is really affecting everything that I do. I have to wear Band-Aids sometimes to go out, just like if I'm going out to dinner, because like I could like be touching my hair and like a hair string goes into the cut. So everything, I just have to like do things like that. So it's a process. I'm now finally on Otesla, which was approved by my insurance. So I've been on that for about 2 weeks. I'm hoping to see results like Jen has, amazing results. So I can do my nails again. Something simple like that we take for granted. Like I can't even do my nails because it would be so painful, and taking a bath without lasting less than 5 minutes because the water is like so painful to your cuts. So I miss all those things, and I'm hoping that I get some relief in that, because luckily my rheumatoid arthritis is under control. I have been pain-free with the medication that I'm taking. So I'm hoping that continues, and I'm hoping for relief with psoriasis soon. So that's my long diagnosis story, but that's how it happened for me.
So what would you say is your most painful area for the psoriasis? Is it your hands?
It's my hands. Yeah.
That was definitely it for me. And I think when I would show people pictures, they would comment about my feet, because my feet got pretty bad too. But I think honestly, wearing socks and shoes, that helped. And so for your hands, I mean, you do everything with your hands.
Exactly. I sometimes have thought about them. Like, I really wish it was on my feet. Like, I was just like, can I just like, you just think about things like, okay, if I have to deal with this, I wish it was somewhere where I don't have to use as often. Like I think to myself, I would be so like, I wouldn't be happy, but I would be content, at least until this gets resolved, that it's on my feet and not my hands. But I mean, it's spreading because I didn't have it on my elbows. Now I have it on my elbows. So I'm just kind of afraid where else is going to go. So I'm just hoping though Tesla kicks in before it does anything else anywhere else. Yeah.
Has it affected your fingernails?
Not yet, but okay. I was telling my boyfriend that I was noticing that they're getting kind of yellow. And I read that that's sometimes like a beginning sign. So I'm afraid of that. And I have really long nails, and I can see kind of the discoloration. So I'm afraid that it's going to get to that point. Again, hoping though Tesla kicks in before then. But I'm also like just trying not, because I feel like my stress and my anxiety add to the psoriasis. So I'm also just trying to like forget about it, even though Band-Aids don't look the nicest, but it doesn't hurt it. And maybe the stress adds to that. I don't even know, but I'm just trying not to add stress and anxiety to it, because I'm just afraid that's just going to make it worse.
Well, absolutely. And I think the more that we stress over it, the more our skin reacts.
Exactly.
And so it's almost like, okay, I hate this and this hurts so bad, but I've got to do whatever I can to try to calm down.
Yeah. And I've also tried like dairy-free. I've been going dairy-free. That's hard, because who doesn't love things with dairy? Everything is amazing with dairy, but I've tried like, making a small changes here and there. And I can't say I've seen a huge improvement, but I was getting cuts much more frequently. Now, like I'll get them less, but they're still there. So I'm just trying other alternatives besides medication, in case the medication takes a long time to work. I'm also doing other things to help heal, if that makes sense. And I'm also, with me at all times, is lotion. And I bought this because you recommended it, and it's amazing. I love it. This is my third bottle already.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I literally have a to-go one that I pour it for work. I have it with me all the time, because even though it doesn't go away, the only thing that helps it kind of seem more relaxed is moisturizing it. So
I was going to show you mine, but I don't know where I put it. But I have one here with me at work. I keep it with me everywhere. I keep that one and the Udder Balm with me everywhere I go.
Yes, likewise. My purse, my car, and here at home.
It's almost like the more that we keep our skin moisturized, the more it's not going to react and cut as easily.
Exactly. That's how I see it. It's crazy the things that I didn't do when I didn't suffer from this. And I'm just like, I wish I didn't have to do this, but it's what I was dealt. But it's crazy that things we take for granted. We really do.
Yeah. And I feel like, well, if anything, I guess I have really, really soft skin to people. I don't know.
And I'm afraid to shake like people's hands after, because, you know, it's kind of like at the beginning, it's kind of like, I don't know what's the word to describe it, but it's like, I don't want to rub off the lotion on them. You know, I'm afraid, like, it's everything.
Well, and you don't want your skin to flake off on them either. And people
exactly.
Like, okay, what?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Well, and it's crazy to me because I haven't really met a lot of people that have gone through what I've gone through and have felt the way that I feel. And so to meet you and to meet Linnea, my jaw is just to the ground. And it's so nice not to feel alone.
I'm so glad too. And you know who's funny, who gave me, and I think I told you this, who gave me your contact info was Ashley Nicole. I'm like going by her Instagram name.
She's so sweet. I love her.
Ashley Nicole, I told her about my psoriasis, like diagnosis when I finally got diagnosed. And she's like, oh, you should connect with Jen. Like, she also suffers from psoriasis. And I was like looking for someone like to see what, and you're the one who suggested Otessa. And I brought it up. I'm just like, okay, let's give it a try. So it's like this community, it's not only for support, but it's also just to like hear what works for you, you know, what works for others, to see if it works for you. So I was very grateful when that happened.
Calling all Spoonies. As a host of a chronic illness podcast, nothing lights up my day more than hearing from you, our incredible listeners. Whether it's a topic close to your heart that you want us to uncover, or you are keen to show your own journey as a guest on our show, your voice matters. Living with chronic illness can often feel isolating, but through the power of podcasting, we can come together as a community to uplift, educate, and inspire one another. Your stories, insights, and questions drive the conversations we have and the topics we explore. So if there's something on your mind, a story that you are just itching to share, or a guest you'd love to hear from, don't hesitate to reach out. Your voice is not only welcomed here, but celebrated. Let's continue to amplify the voices of those living with chronic illnesses and create a space where everyone feels heard, supported, and empowered. Together, we are stronger. Yeah. And I mean, there's so many different medications, but I know for me, because mine is medically induced, that ruled out a whole classification of drugs. And so a lot of people with psoriasis can use Humira. I can't. And so I'm kind of jealous of those people, but it would make my psoriasis worse.
So it's funny you say Humira. Sorry. They wanted me to use Humira. And I said no, because she said there's a small chance it could cause MS. Yeah, she told me that. She's like, it's a small chance it could cause MS. And, but because it would be medically provoked or something, I don't know the correct term, induced, maybe, I don't know. It could be reversible, but it could be more likely if you have a history of MS. But initially I told you I didn't have a history of MS in my family. But as of 4 months ago, my cousin who was 27 was diagnosed with MS. So now I have a history, and she's my first cousin. So her dad and my dad are siblings. So yeah. So it's like my family has been like us, like our generation has been dealing with some things. So when she said that it could cause that, and there's a history, only if there's a history, I didn't want to take the chance. I was like, I don't have it. I don't want this medication to cause me to have it. So I decided not to get it. And that's when she offered Otessa. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I know there's Cosentyx too. And I tried that one. Oh, okay. And you inject that in your thigh. I had to do that once a week. It did nothing for me, but I've seen that it works great for other people. Yeah. And so it's a lot of, hopefully people remember this. It's a lot of trial and error. We can recommend things to each other. The doctors can give us all the input in the world, but we all have different genetic backgrounds. Some of us have multiple autoimmune diseases and things to look at. And so it's not going to necessarily work for everybody. And exactly. That's okay. Sometimes we just have to try the right combination, and eventually we'll find it. Exactly what works best for us. And that's what I've learned with both rheumatoid arthritis and psoriasis. It's just, you have to try different medications until something works for you. Like methotrexate right now is working great for me. The side effects have definitely decreased. So I'm happy with what it's doing to me right now. But before that, I was on prednisone. I did not like it. It was not working for me. It just didn't make me feel good. It was making me feel good, but not making me feel good, if that makes sense. Like, it was helping my rheumatoid arthritis, but how I felt with it was not okay. I was gaining weight. I felt like I got some type of depression. Like, I was sad all the time. I don't know if that's known, but I felt that way. I just took myself off of it.
I did the same. And honestly, I sat my rheumatologist down and I said, I will never take this again.
Yeah.
Because I put on 40 pounds in 3 months. I mean, granted, with how much pain I was in, I had lost a lot of weight. So they wanted me to put on some weight and I needed to, but it just kept going. And then it was like, okay, now I have a new problem to deal with because I don't need that extra weight on my joints. And so I was like, no, we've got to find another option.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's same with me. I didn't even tell her. I was like, I'm taking myself off of it. When I go see you, can you give me something else? Like, I could listen to their advice, but I know what's good for me. I'm that type of patient. Like, okay, you're giving me your advice, but this is really what I want. So
yeah. I mean, I'm here for your advice, but this is still my body and I might not necessarily agree. And that's okay.
Yeah, because she was pushing me. The reason why I say that for the Humira, she wanted me to give it a shot, and I just said no twice. I'm like, I'm not doing it. Like, I'm not going to risk the possibility of this for relief in my hands. Like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so before you met me, were you familiar with the term Spoonie?
So before I met you, I had seen it a lot, like the term, like when I started joining this community, like I had started before I followed you, I started following like a few people. And I would see the term. I wouldn't really research it until I really met you and I was added to the group. I was like, I don't really know what this means. And then I saw it's a term. I was like, I have no idea. I Googled it and I saw it was just a term for like chronic illness and the amount of energy someone with chronic illness has on a day and what you're capable of even possibly doing in a day because of your different energy levels, I guess. I don't know if I'm explaining it right. That's my short interpretation of it.
Yeah, I think you're explaining it wonderfully. How has it helped you to find this community?
A lot, because I felt alone. I felt when I got this diagnosis, my family didn't understand what it meant. Like I said, going back to, I think, to the language barrier and me understanding it from like me reading about it and like also being explained to it by my doctor. My parents speak Spanish. My family speaks Spanish, like not for the cousins, but my aunts and stuff. So it was hard for them. Arthritis is, you're old, like what everyone thinks. Oh, what do you mean? I have arthritis. I'm 50. Like, yeah, but young people can have it too. And mine isn't just arthritis that you have because of wear and tear over the years. Like my type of arthritis, and I try to explain that it's a chronic illness that can affect all my joints over time. And unless I do things like, prevent that, like, with eating and things like that. It was just very hard to explain. So I felt alone. I didn't feel like I had a community. I didn't feel like I had people to talk to. They just would make me feel like it wasn't serious. Like, that's really how I felt. Like, that's fine. Like, no, you're going to be like, of course I know I'm going to be fine, but I want someone to acknowledge what I'm feeling and how this is affecting me. And I didn't feel that way until I had this community. I have better days than some with this illness. Like some days I'm just like, I don't feel anything. Obviously, like I said, my rheumatoid arthritis is good right now, but there are days where it does affect me. So even discussing that with this community helps, because sometimes you just need someone to listen to you, to like, you need to vent sometimes. And I feel like I've done it with you. It's just, sometimes you just need to like, I can't handle this anymore. Like, I don't want to feel this. Like, and like sometimes we give each other advice and we say what might work for us to try it out. So for me, it was everything I needed at the time. And I still need, because I have decided not to continue to tell my family or even my parents about what goes on with me, because I just feel like they would think, because this is because you know how it is. Sometimes it could for me, it started in my neck, but then it was my wrist, but then it was my jaw. Like every time I would tell them like, oh, something else, like I'm not making this up. This is how it is. So I just decided to all around stop telling them, deal with my stuff myself. And it's sad to say, but I even felt like that with my boyfriend, because he's a type where it's like, yeah, okay, it'll get better. The same as my parents. So I've just decided to deal with it all myself, take my medication. I'll let my mom know what I'm taking just because I feel like it's good for her to know. But that's about it. But for me, I needed this. They love me, but I don't think they understand what this is or how serious this could be if I don't help treat it now.
Well, and I think part of the issue too is people hear rheumatoid arthritis and they just get stuck on the arthritis part. They don't realize it's going to eventually affect our organs. It can affect so many things.
Yeah.
It's not just a joint problem. It can be so much more. And that's why we have to catch it as early as we can, find the medications that'll help slow down the progression of the disease, and do the best we can to try to live a normal life.
Exactly. And that's what I tell them. And she's like, yeah, just make the changes. Like, but I've just decided to like cut that part out of telling them. If something gets, God forbid, to the point where it's serious enough for me to share, I will share that with them. But right now I am managing it. Everything's under control for right now. If anything changes, I'll let them know. And my brother's a nurse, and he I feel like he's the only one I can talk to, but he's also the type of person where he's like, gets tired of me, like, oh, I feel this in you all the time. So I'm just like, I'm by myself. Like no one wants to keep listening to me, I guess. It's that, it's not like we're making it up. There's literally something new. Like the other day was my pinky. Like I couldn't even really use my pinky. I was like, what is going on? So it's like, at this point, I just keep it to myself. That's the best way. And share with you guys, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, my husband has sometimes asked like, well, why do you wait until it's so bad to finally tell me? And I finally was like, well, honey, I don't want you to think that all I ever do is complain about my aches and my pains. And what I'm feeling today is probably going to be the same thing I'm feeling tomorrow. And do you want to hear it 100 times? Probably not.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to internalize it. And when it gets bad enough, then I'll finally tell you.
Exactly.
But I don't want to annoy you. Even if you're not annoyed, I don't want to chance annoying you with my constant aches and, okay, now today's my pointer finger. Tomorrow it's my left knee.
Exactly.
You're not going to want to hear that.
Exactly. That's exactly how I felt when I just felt like I was getting that negative feedback about, I just decided, I was like, it was making me feel bad. It was affecting my mental health. Like, am I going crazy when they would make me question it? Like, am I imagining this? But I know I'm not imagining this, because it would make me feel they would say, what's in your head? It's because you know it's going to hurt. Now it's hurting. Like, no, I'm not making the pain up and letting you know. So I just decided to, internalize everything, like you said, until it gets too bad or serious enough where I need to. And luckily it hasn't.
And you know what? That's why I call all of us warriors, because I mean, we really are. When you're internalizing that much and putting that much pressure on yourself and dealing with a chronic illness or 2 or 3, we're powerhouses.
Yeah, like we really are. It's people take what they can do every day for granted until you're dealt these type of illnesses, because it puts everything into perspective. There's things, something as simple as getting out of a bed, where that was difficult for me in the morning when I started with my neck pain. That was like, I'm just like, what is happening to my body right now? So it's like people take for granted like what a healthy body does for you. And so it's not anymore.
And it's hard for people to understand that you could be 28 years old and feel like you're 80.
I was going to say that. I didn't want to say it because like, I don't want to say that on camera, but I felt like I was old. I felt like I was like my mom's even like, I felt like I was almost 60. Like, I was just like, what is going on? Like, and my daughter needed me. Like I need to grab her. She's crying to get her out like of her bed, she's like, and I couldn't even like grab her. Like it took me a good 5 minutes to get her out of bed, to get her out of bed. So and that, to me, when I couldn't do that, that's when I knew I needed to go to the ER, and they still did nothing for me.
Yeah. It makes me so mad for you. I want to smack somebody.
I remember taking the day off. I was like, I told my manager, I'm going to the ER. This is not normal pain. And then when I finally told him, I share everything like with him, just so he knows, it's like, you were right to go get that check a few months ago. When I told him I had my diagnosis, like, that's good for you. I'm like, thank you. Yeah.
You listened to your body and you did what you needed to do. And that's extremely important.
Yeah. And I encourage everyone to do that. Don't ignore it. Don't think you're going crazy. Whatever you're feeling, it's because you're feeling, and your body's trying to tell you something. You don't want it. You don't want to listen to it when it's too late, when it's done too much damage.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm trying to think of which questions I want to ask you today.
I can talk. I like to talk. So
what does your self-care list look like?
Like I said, I've started a month and a half walking. Not my, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a big workout person at all. But I definitely do try to eat on the healthier side. I try to make it up. Even though I don't go to the gym, I try to eat on the healthier side. So, eating healthy just for like better energy, and also just self-care. Like I used to love doing my nails. Can't do my nails anymore. Just spending time, like Thursday, Fridays are like me time. My daughter's in daycare. I work from home, but I'm typically finish early. I go, like, we live in a complex. I walk around, I go on a drive, go shopping. I have really bad shopping habits. I buy a lot of stuff that I shouldn't. So it's all about just disconnecting and focusing on me. It's what I like to do. It's what keeps me sane, what keeps me being me, away from being like a mother, a girlfriend, a housewife, and all those things are just simple enough, but make me happy. Doesn't make my boyfriend happy when I spend so much money, but
sometimes that's what we needed that day.
Yeah, exactly.
How would the ones closest to you describe you?
Shy at the beginning. Like I'm very shy, but then I don't keep my mouth shut. I am very blunt. I am very straightforward. Not in a mean way. It's just, and as I've told you my story, if I need to say something, I will say it until I get listened to. So I'm very independent. I think that's just what they can tell you or describe me. Just straight to the point, straight shooter, like blunt as it comes. That's me. Very nice and friendly, but very blunt.
At least you're honest.
Yeah.
That's an important quality to have.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where else should we go with this? So many options. I don't know. I should have circled ahead of time. I have like 30 different questions to choose from.
Holy moly.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Okay, I know. Here we go. Let's do this one.
God.
Would you rather get your diagnosis 5 years earlier or 5 years later than when you did?
That's a good question. I think I like the age that I got my diagnosis. If I would have gotten it 5 years before, I would have not taken it as seriously because I was younger. I was more mature. So all the things I was doing 5 years ago, which was, going out with my girlfriends, vacation and drinking a lot, like not to the point where I'm an alcoholic, but we were drinking every weekend type of thing, no kids. So I know that would have caused more stress on me, that I feel like I couldn't have done that, or I would have been overthinking things. I wouldn't have lived the life I had lived. So I'm actually very appreciative that it happened now and not 5 years ago. So I'm going to answer that. I'm okay with it now. So even 5 years later, I would have been okay with it.
You have that maturity level to handle it.
Exactly. It's all about maturity. I don't know how I would have handled it. I probably wouldn't have taken it as seriously. It would have just not been a good thing. So probably wouldn't have enjoyed my life as I did before, because I would have been stressing about it. So, because that's how I am. Even when I was younger, maybe the maturity level wasn't there, but I've always had some type of level of anxiety, which my PCP tells me to talk to someone. And I'm just like, I'm not going to talk to someone. Like, it's not that I don't want to, it's just, I know how to handle it. I have ways to handle it. But it's gotten to the point where he notices it about me. He's like, I really, really suggest you talk to someone about your anxiety. And I'm just like, I don't think I'm to the point of it yet, because I know how to handle it. I do things to get it under control. So I know that if I would have gotten it 5 years ago, my anxiety would have been much more worse. So, and I definitely think I'm okay with it now. Even 5 years later, maybe it would have been, no, that's immaturity. I don't want more damage to be caused, but then you're not constantly thinking about it. Cause not to say I'm thinking about it every day, but it's always on my mind. Like, I know I have to do certain things to help myself in the future, to help my joints, to help prevent further damage. And those are things that we really don't want to do. I don't want to be taking medication 4 pills every week. Like, I don't want to do that at 28, but it's just, it's things that I have to take into consideration now that I guess having it now, the maturity level, I'm glad it happened now.
I agree. I feel the same way. I don't think if I would have had it happen to me in my younger years, I don't think I would have handled it as well as I did.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. I feel like I would have cried every single day, and knowing it's serious, but knowing at that point, I probably would have thought like, oh my God, like I'm going to be like crippled in a wheelchair. You think the worst right away, you know? So now my maturity level and seeing everyone that I've connected with, like, no, you're not going to end up like that. You need to obviously help yourself and prevent it from getting worse. But I don't think 5 years ago, I would have thought that way at all. I would have put myself in a hole and cried until hoping it went away when it would not go away.
I think so many of us would have done that. So many of us. If I asked you to nominate a fellow Spoonie sister for a highlight, who would you nominate and why?
I feel like everyone's going to say this.
Oh no.
I really, you are amazing, but whoever, she always has such positive energy. Like you would be you're 1 and 2. It's like, it's hard. Mad for me. Colleen.
Oh, yes.
Colleen is amazing. Like, I don't want people to, I don't chat often on the chat, but I work, I have a toddler, but I'm always reading it. When I can comment, I comment, but I read everything. And her feedback and responses to everything are so uplifting. And she just roots for you without really knowing you in person, just online. She roots for you. She roots for you to succeed. She's always giving you the like kudos, you know? So I like appreciate her energy in the group. Like, I feel like everyone will say these things, positive things to say about her. So for me, it's Colleen all the way.
100%. Yeah. Absolutely agree with you. She is everyone's cheerleader.
Yeah, that's the word. She's a cheerleader, good cheerleader.
She will send you private texts, private videos, encouraging you, letting you know that she loves you and that you're going to make it through the day. And what she's doing right now this month for the limb difference.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I saw that.
I told her yesterday, honey, you have got to just take care of yourself. And I know that you're excited about what you're doing, but we value you and you're important to us, and we need you to take care of yourself.
Very. Yes. So I noticed she disconnects on weekends, which that's good for her. That, you know, she's focused on us on the weekdays. And I love that she does her disconnecting on weekends, her self-care days, whatever those days are for her, but she takes time for herself. So I think she's our biggest cheerleader for all of us without knowing us on that type of level, you know, like maybe you and I. And she also sent me a private message once. So she's very, very, she gives me hope, is what I should say. She gives me hope as to knowing that this rheumatoid arthritis is not going to take over my life, my mood, because that's what I'm afraid of, that it's going to get worse. Maybe I'm going to let it affect me later on. Like, it's going to get worse, or I'm going to get depressed. So she gives me hope that that's not going to happen.
I absolutely agree with you. She's phenomenal.
I agree. Yeah. Thank you, Colleen.
Yes. Thank you, Colleen. Oh, well, I feel like we could easily go for like hours.
I know.
But I'm going to try to limit this. So I have 2 more things for you. Okay. If you had to make yourself a promise right now, what would that be?
I don't think, it's not related to my rheumatoid arthritis, but I think it's just a promise to always like listen to myself, like not let anyone discourage me from what I'm thinking, tell me that I'm crazy, always put myself first, which is what I've been doing. And just, you know, like if I wouldn't have listened to myself, if I didn't put myself first, I wouldn't have the diagnosis I have today. So I think my promise is to myself is always listen to my body, always make sure I'm putting myself first when it comes to health and everything. Like, no, my doctors don't know more than I do. I know what's going on with my body and my health. So that's my promise for myself for the future and forever, because that I feel like it's going to prevent anything else from getting worse, because I'm going to be advocating for myself.
I love it. So everyone's going to want to know how they can find you and follow you. So where can they find you and follow you?
So I have an Instagram. It's at SOLGB__. So I don't know if it's private or public. I honestly don't remember. I really don't post much. I think the few people that I have from my Spoonie community have noticed I really don't post much. I might post a picture here and there of my daughter. But please feel free to follow me, because I'm not always talking on the chat, but I'm always looking, I'm always reading. And I would love to connect with all of you.
Yeah.
So please follow me.
Yeah, absolutely. Reach out, ask you questions, give fellow support, do all the things.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there anything else you'd like to share that I haven't covered?
No, I don't think so. I'm hoping that how I'm feeling right now with my rheumatoid arthritis continues, because we all know that is something unbearable sometimes. So I hope the same for my fellow Spoonie sisters that are currently in pain. I hope that you guys find some relief with whatever medication you are on, are in remission, or on your way to remission with God first. So that's my hope for all of you, and that's my hope for myself. So I hope that happens for all of you.
Well, I'll definitely have you back for an update. And eventually we're going to get the three of us together, you, Linnea, and myself. And so we can kind of talk about the struggles that we all share together. But thank you so much for joining. Everyone, take care of yourself. Have a wonderful day and join us next time. But please do not forget your spoon.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Jen, for inviting me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. The information should not be taken as a replacement for medical, clinical, professional advice, diagnoses, or medical intervention. My Spoonie Sisters and guests will not be held liable for any of the consequences of such action or inaction. Trigger warning. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics including, but not limited to, suicide, abuse, mental illness, and chronic disease. You are advised to refrain from listening if you are likely to be offended or adversely impacted by any of these topics. None of the guests or hosts will be responsible for your use of the information contained therein. Life is not merely to be alive, but to be well. Living a life with a chronic illness is best described with one word: unpredictable. Be Well's products are designed to make the unpredictable easier to deal with. Back when I was getting my infusions, I would have loved to have their adult zip hoodie. They even have one in pink. They also have everything from one-day pill holders to urgency buckets. So remember, they want to make your life a little easier. So be sure to check out Be Well.